Welcome back to another Barron Street Research Technical Analysis. I'm Trade Alts. I'm here with Big Take. It's been a little while since our last update, so we're gonna get right into the charts. Big Take, how you doing today?
What's
What's
up,
up,
brother?
brother?
Glad to
Not
hear you,
much.
see
I
you
gotta
back
hit your
from the
The
vacay.
vacay.
from the old Thailand trip, huh? That was a wild
Nice.
trip. Um, so we're gonna start with Nasdaq. We're gonna keep it simple to kind of get started. I'm gonna mark off a few levels here. I actually have all of this done, but it's on my other template. So I wanted to kind of have Barron Street have its own template. That way it's easier for us to kind of follow along as we kind of move ahead. But here I'm gonna mark off very simple range high and a range low. These are very important levels. Um, and you'll see why here in a second, which is this is all the stuff that we've been talking about basically. And they're going to find your range midpoint right here, which is your range equilibrium. And we kind of zoom in, you guys can see it a little bit easier. So basically, we had a very simple deviation, which ultimately ended up being a very simple deviation right here. We've been range bound for many months at this point. We got our basically once we lost our yellow line here, which is our range equilibrium, you can see here we spent 3 weeks literally rejecting off of it, and finding some support at the bottom of the range here. Then we dipped, we actually started moving down, obviously like a lot of Iran war FUD, that type of stuff. Um, and ended up losing our range low, almost coming into our yearly pivot, which that would have been really nice, honestly, to actually come down a bit lower and at least touch this. This is another like high support area. Like just looking back to the left of the chart over here, this is like a very high support area. So like this yearly pivot would have been really nice to actually just like clean up and touch for the year and then get this kind of reversal. But bottom line is like when you're range trading, and you see, actually I should leave this part. Um, but anyway, like when you get your deviation like this, you get your acceptance back inside of the range, and obviously an extremely violent move to the upside. And now we're literally at new all-time highs, sitting above your range high. So again, like an important support, important level for Nasdaq to keep an eye on is literally your range high, basically 26,400 around there. Like as long as you're above that, no issues that I see. Blue sky breakout, up and at them. Don't really see any reason to be overly bearish. But just the same as we saw here with this deviation to the downside, what I would say is be a little bit careful if you see something similar to the upside, right? So like we could have a bit of a deviation up here. And if we start to kind of get acceptance back inside of the range, you could just, again, we could continue to be in this range for the foreseeable future. That's not really like my base case right now. I do think that, as long as things remain relatively calm, and you let the market do what it wants to do, I think higher is probably the play. But like again, a very simple level that I would keep my eyes on is this range high sitting right here. If I can get my pen back, but this range high, literally at 26,400, extremely important level going forward. So anyway, Big Tech, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but this is again like a
Yeah,
very
so for
classic.
the prop traders this week, can we see like a weekly?
Well, this is a
Like
weekly
what?
chart. Like you
I mean,
want to
not a
look on
weekly
like
chart, but like for this week, I mean, like I guess a daily or shorter.
well, I would say that like if we get any weakness, which this honestly would be kind of a nice fake out. You do have a weekly pivot sitting here at 26.2. So like if we did come back here, I wouldn't immediately like get, in fact, like this is probably not a bad level to look at for a bit of a pullback here, which coming back inside of the range, it would likely get a lot of people really bearish again very quickly. Only to, probably see one of these moves type of deal. For me, it's about where there's a weekly close. So that's actually a pretty good follow-up for that. Is like I'm not overly, again, there's nothing wrong here. We're literally at new all-time highs basically. well above your range high. As long as you're in this kind of a posture, I don't see any reason to be overly bearish. In fact, again, like we got a little bit of a pullback, during the week, which again isn't really my base case. But if I was to see a pullback, something similar like this, there's probably an opportunity. But that's kind of what I would say. It's more about like where are we opening and closing weekly candles? As long as it's above your range high, nothing, no real problem here. It's kind of the same thing here. And like on a daily time frame, you actually see this a lot better, right? So like we got our deviation, we got our close back inside, and then you see that like we were opening and closing candles, well inside of our range. So we got very clear acceptance, and then we got it was a rocket ship back up to literally new highs, right? So this it's kind of the same thing here as like, to the downside. If we got a quick pullback to kind of like clean up this weekly pivot, that would be totally okay with me, even though you're technically back inside of the range. But if you start opening and closing, if you start opening and closing candles with, below your range high, you close the end of the week below your range high, then to me, that's problematic. So
Is there a near-term upside target from based on the levels?
I mean, like on a weekly time frame,
There we go.
and I mean, I'd really have to think about this. Like this, I mean, if we have like a really strong week, I could see us move up to potentially this R1, something like that. Which from here would put you up another, two and a, yeah. I mean, I could definitely like see that on if we have like a really, um, a pretty good week ahead of us. Like I would definitely be looking around this 27.5, maybe even a bit higher. Um, for the week, something like that. But to me, the upside is kind of a given, right? I'm less worried about the length of time it's going to take to get to these higher levels, which I do think that we're likely to hit. But for me, it's about as long as we're remaining above our range high and we're using this as at least as a support zone, totally fine. So like I do think that we ultimately are going to work higher, as long as we remain above this. So very important level. ES, we can do something extremely similar, actually. Oh, I guess on Nasdaq, one thing that I do want to bring up, is my liquidity index. So I think it was the last video that I did actually before I went on vacation. We were flashing this signal, right? So this signal here that literally, basically called the, I guess gotta do it on this chart. I basically called this last high back in 21. Which it was flashing here, and I'd said if we close the week with this showing, which you can see, like if you zoom in, right, it came right down to the 85 level, like literally. It was actually
crisis
slightly
averted, huh?
crisis averted. See, that's why again, like you have your rules, and you're patient, and again, we were below 85 early in the week, and then we finished a week like back above 85, no print, right? You can see that there's no print here for that, and off to the races, right? So it's like crisis averted, but you can see how critical this level is. And to me, like there's not a lot of iterations obviously at all about this, about my liquidity index is only a few months old in terms of like me creating it and like monitoring it essentially in like a real environment. But though it gave me quite a bit of confidence seeing that happen. Like that was very, 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 very good in terms of like having it come down to a very critical level, start to flash the signal, and then again, like you see what happens here. And I'm not saying because of the index or anything like that, but it was very nice to see that level. It acted exactly how I would want it to act, right? Like very critical level, ended up closing above, no print, and then off to the races. And here we are at literally a new all-time high. And like as far as the liquidity index goes, it's like I do think that again, as long as things remain relatively calm, I do expect this to kind of curl back upwards. And again, as long as that happens, um, I don't see any reason to have any like major downside or anything like that. Now, what I will say is if this starts to deteriorate again, what would be nice is that if we get a signal similar to 2021, that it happens from obviously a lot higher point than it would have here, right? So like that, I absolutely am keeping tabs on that, and it's something that we're I'm checking twice a week basically at least, just to make sure, like obviously, like as long as we're moving higher here and things are relatively calm, I don't expect that to roll over. But it is definitely something that I am waiting, that I am paying attention to. And when that signal does print, like in terms of what happened over the last couple of weeks, I would say my confidence level for that print when it does come, because it will come at some point. At some point down the road, it could be months, it could be, I honestly don't know. It could be a really long time. But I do think that when that happens, it's gonna like I think it's something that we really should pay a lot of attention to when that actually does confirm. And you can see here, like when it confirmed back in 2021, it was your high. So it doesn't have to be like, that's kind of the thing here that, like when we got it starting to flash down near around these lows, it was like a bit concerning because of how like we were already had moved off pretty significantly off the high, right? So it was like, oh man, that, like, if it does confirm here, obviously that probably would have, like for me, it would have added quite a bit of fuel to the fire. And like we probably would have moved a fair amount lower, is my guess, if the conditions had continued to move in that direction, but they didn't. So obviously we got like your ceasefire, you got the first, kind of like round of positive news, I guess. You see markets reacting pretty violently off of that. So, but that's what I will say is like, this is definitely like, to me, it validated a bit more of like the index working exactly like how I'd want it to work. Like that was, so I'm very happy about that. But, um, you know, anyway, I'll have to keep an eye on that one. So ES, kind of this, it's the exact same thing. I mean, I'm not going to go draw it out for you, but you can see like it came down, all the way down to, it actually closed at 86, but it was like 84 or something. Like it was lower than kind of like that, a very important level that I have marked off there. And, you know, this is going to be basically the same analysis as, like you're going to have a very similar analysis here. So it's not overly exciting. Can find the midpoint, I guess. Might as well do it again. That way it's set up on this chart and it's, I don't have to redo it. Very simple. Very simple. I should put this back on yearly. Same story. But again, you have like a very simple deviation below your range low, right? Range high, range low, got your deviation, and then it's off to the races. Again, it's the same thing as Nasdaq that we looked at. ES is I do think, like, I'm curious. So this is your yearly up at 76. Man, I don't know, man. As long as things remain relatively calm, we could see that. We could see that in kind of short order, I feel like. Let's see where your weekly pivots are. 73. I think 73 is actually a phenomenal. Okay, so this to me is a bit more clear than Nasdaq in terms of the levels, and I agree with these levels a lot versus Nasdaq. So I'll have a little bit better analysis, I think. As far as looking at things intra-week, okay, your pivot, like how perfect is this, by the way? Your weekly pivot is your range high. So in terms of this being a really important support, if we did get some material weakness over the next day or two, and we were to come down to test, around your 7K level, which again is basically a range high, that, like, to me, that's your classic opportunity to what was resistance. Now, we broke above. Do we get your support? Like, is this your support test before making new highs? This is a very classic level looking for a bit of a pullback here. So if we get this, I think this is likely to be very strong support. Just having your pivot line up right with your range high, that's really good to see. And then to the upside, I actually looked at this number first before I saw the pivot being here, and I agree with this wholeheartedly as well, around 7,300. So like, in terms of looking for like an intra-week potential move, I would say you got another, a bit over 2%, something like that. Could we push a lot higher? It's definitely possible. I mean, the president's going to be on Squawk Box tomorrow. Who knows what he's going to say there? But like I was saying, a lot of people pay
I don't think he
attention.
knows.
Yeah, I don't think he knows either. Yeah, exactly. Like, who knows what's going to be said? But I'll say this. I will say this. I have a feeling tomorrow that we'll hit one of these two levels.
Yeah.
It'll be one of these two levels. I wouldn't be surprised to see that tomorrow, something like that.
Well, we tweeted from the account that the market was like one more green day away from another brief excursion by Trump.
Yeah.
The market, like every time the market goes up, he does something else.
He does something. So I actually really like these pivots this week a lot, which isn't always the case. And I think even here to the downside, this would be really extended to me. I would not really expect to see like 6,900 hit this week. And again, the bias for that is, as long as you're above your range high, there's no reason to look right. Like you're looking for continuation. It's okay to get the pullback. The pullback's probably a buy op. Not financial advice, of course, but like it's probably a pretty nice opportunity here for some kind of like intra-week trade, even something like that. But just having prior resistance, does this flip into support? If it does, we're very likely gonna make new highs. Probably see like 7,600 or something like that. But this looks really strong, really good, and again, it's the same message I have as far as Nasdaq goes. You had a deviation to the downside. What you do not want to see is this, reject here and then kind of like open and close candles here, because then this is likely to be the deviation to the top side. And then you would just be looking to retrade this range all over again. All right. I would say, in terms of looking for, which this is another, which I mean, the green squiggle is kind of funny, but your value area high of this range is also, like I would say, it is a very important level. And, that's basically sitting just slightly above 7K. So I would just say 7,000 even. As long as you're opening and closing daily candles above 7,000, all is well and good. There's not be much I'd be worried about. Intra-week, over the next day or two, something like that. If you were to get a pullback down to this pivot around 7,038, something like that, I think that's probably a pretty fair area to look for a bounce. And again, as long as you're up 7,000 specifically, same thing. I'm not really expecting any significant downside at all. Now, if you lose 7K, especially on a closing basis, and I'm talking about like, if we closed the week below 7K, then this is going to be awfully similar to this, I think. I would be a little bit more concerned if that was the case, which again, is not my base case. It's not like what I think is going to happen. But I would be absolutely on the lookout for something like that and would trade accordingly if I saw that, because I would expect for this to, again, kind of like have your deviation here. You got a sprint to the other side of the range and the new all-time highs. If you get some kind of deviation up here, this close to your range high, and you get acceptance back below your macro, or I'm sorry, well, it's not your macro value area, but back below this range value area, you're gonna have problems. Like you're likely gonna see another. At that point, I would not be surprised to see another rotation back down the range low. So, again, not my primary case, but it's there though, right? It's something that it's an option. It's something that could happen.
That's maybe if
just
the
about
war like re-escalates or something.
It could be right, right, and there will of course be a reason for why that happened. But the thing I'll say, and I literally said this yesterday, Tig, did I not, in our chat? I said, look, like if there's one thing that I'm not the best at is trading geopolitics. I've just learned that. It's just, because things happen. And it's like, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, if you just look at the chart, oftentimes the chart will tell you what you need to know. You know what I mean? You find your levels that likely will coincide with, things escalating or whatever. You know what I get? You get my point. It's like you're gonna see it. Like, so it's like if you start to lose those levels, you don't need to try to be the oracle. You just trade what the chart is giving you, and then magically it oftentimes tends to be the right play. You know what I mean? It's like it just is what it is. But anyway, ES Nasdaq, I thought they were very, very appropriate, um, charts to kind of start at. And the last time again before I went to Thailand, we were like at some extreme levels. We were literally losing range low, and things were relatively like problematic and flashing. Starting to flash some extreme warning signals. But again, that's why you have rules in place for your trading and why you have, again, with the liquidity index that I created. Um, when that does confirm, I'll tell you, like, I have pretty good feeling about it. That like that will be a good idea to listen. But we're not really I mean, we're kind of close technically, but like man, it would be a lot nicer to actually get a signal, but like be near the high. You know what I mean?
You want to know what's going to be
I
fun?
feel pretty good about that.
Now they have S&P 500 perpetual futures, so like you could short for the downside and get the funding on there too.
Yeah.
I know you like that. I know you like doing that.
So what do we want to look at next? So this to me was kind of like the two important things that obviously like these are the base indices that like most people are going to be watching and that are going to dictate most of what happens anyway, right? Even in crypto, like we're talking about Bitcoin a lot. It's like, man, listen, like if this is looking good, Bitcoin's likely going to still suck, but it'll move in the general direction, right? It's like it's harder to have I mean, Matt, like when you have, which is crazy, but it's like when you have a chart that looks like this and Bitcoin is extremely weak compared to this, but it was still positive, like it still moved up, right? That's basically what I would say. But if it starts to turn over and get pretty ugly again, then you'll probably see Bitcoin outperform to the downside. I just don't have much to say about it right now. I'm trading it. I'm long right now. Like I'm scalping, but it's like I don't have a whole lot to say right now. We can do that in a different stream. Do a crypto
For sure.
all-day stream or something.
Maybe we should do car next. Big short squeeze.
I have Oracle here. See, this is the problem. So like what I'm gonna have to do is I'm eventually gonna have to like really do most of my analysis on here because then I have to keep going back to and you can see my scalping chart and like, oh, what is that? I promise you it doesn't look as bad when you're on like a 5 minute. But it looks, yeah.
I thought the mushrooms kicked in.
So yeah. Well, kind of. But anyway, look, Oracle, very simple. Remember the trend line? Very simple. Came down,
There
support, little dip below, strong reclaim. For me, very bullish on Oracle. Like again, as long as things cooperate, like I think the Oracle probably going back over 200. So like it looks good. This was one that we called very early, and we're up very nicely. And it's like as long as the market continues to cooperate, I think Oracle likely continues higher. I wouldn't be shocked, over the next week or two to see a two handle on it. Looks really good. You got some gaps, you got some potential pullbacks. Honestly, it's probably an opportunity. If we do get a bit of weakness over the next couple of days, probably another opportunity. But Oracle to me looks pretty good. So that's one. Again, I should just start doing it on our template here. And I will going forward. Like this one that we're gonna do. What's it called?
Car.
Oh, car. Avis. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is okay. This is not the one that I was thinking of. This is not the one that I was thinking of, which by the way, your weekly pivot. Okay, keep in mind today's Monday. Today's Monday. Right? Today Monday? Today's Monday.
Yep.
Your weekly pivot is at 427 and you're literally closed at 608. I don't know what the hell happened here.
So here's the quick TLDR on this. So there's about 35 million shares outstanding and only 10 million or so are floating. And I think 9.2 million of that float is short. So it's a classic like GameStop short squeeze. And they probably could take this to infinity.
Let's see, near minus 100 or near 100% short interest sparked a short squeeze. Rally could reverse if the company issues new shares, which they probably will. Would you agree? Isn't that what GameStop did?
If
Or that was like what
the
that's what
if
AMC
the
did.
management team does not raise money up here,
Yeah, that's what AMC
then
did.
they need to be fired.
Yeah. So I remember that as what AMC did and brought it back down to earth. Um, yeah, I mean, this is like one that's cool to look at because of obviously what's happening, and the thing is freaking up only. Um, the thing is up only, but unfortunately, like I really don't think that I have much to say about something that looks like this. It's like, are you gonna buy here?
No, of course not.
Well, you're right.
Can't
Well, I don't know. I mean, like I wouldn't, but that
No,
doesn't
you
mean
can't
that
buy. I
like.
mean, it's you
But
know
like you're
they
already
wrote
up.
off like $500 million from their
Yeah, I mean you're up like
EV and
6x in the last month, whatever that is. Or like you're up. It's just like I like.
yeah, the company's not doing well
You
at
probably
all.
wouldn't buy here, is my guess. But and the thing is, there is like look at this. Okay, so this is like actually a pretty good learning moment, I would say, for like those of you who are getting into technical analysis. But like when you have a parabolic move like this, there's like that looks like this, by the way, like there is no support. There's no support really that got built up anywhere along the way. I mean, you'd have to go on like a, maybe a 4 hour would start. Okay, so like it'll start to kind of highlight some potential areas. But I mean, there's nothing really here that is like, I mean, I don't know. I would be
I mean, for
for
some perspective, some of the analyst estimates, not estimates, but price targets on this are like $150. Like literally today or yesterday or Friday.
I mean, this
Yeah,
is like there's just really I'm I mean, this thing's gonna come down viciously at some point. And I mean viciously come down. You can look at GameStop, probably similar. You look at what's the other one I just said? AMC. Look at AMC. Like what happened to those? Um, when the high ultimately got in. And I would say that like you're likely pretty late to this. If you're just discovering this, and you're probably pretty late to this move, is my guess. Um, can this continue? Sure. It's not something that I would like. I would not want to short a chart that looks like this because again, like you don't know where um that's like you're like anybody who's tried to short this is probably obviously not sitting in the
they're
best
not doing
position
too
they
well.
probably could be in. But it's like on
I
something
mean,
like this,
the best case is probably just with some puts or something. Buy some puts and just pray.
I mean, well, that's what you'd be doing, right? Praying, because it's like you don't know when stuff like this will end. Will it end? Yes. Is it going to end badly? Yes. It's going to end extremely badly. But if you're early to this move, then I mean, you're obviously probably pretty happy about it. But yeah, I don't really see. I mean, geez, like your EQ again is back at 350. Like this is just like this is what I would say is like this will get more interesting when a top gets cleanly put in. Like this is to me, this is not a top. Could it be? Sure. But is it likely? Like again, even on a closing basis today, it closed near the high, right? So it's like this is not something that I would want to step in front of, but like in terms of looking for a pullback, the problem with this, like I would say a weekly pivot is probably a pretty good area to look. And I would say it's probably within this window. This is the first window I would say that I would even start to, and it's a big window, but it's really probably something like this, which is huge, right? Like if I wanted to be a bit more precise, I could probably cut this box in half or something like that. But like this, when you have something this crazy, I wouldn't surprise me even. You got a really big pullback, you're gonna get a really long wick, something like that. That would not shock me at all. But I mean, the point is like, where is your real potential support on this, the closest one is probably in this green zone. You look at kind of this short-term range, like where it had traded was it last week. This is kind of the last area that you even spent some time in, and it was just up only from there. So again, and I wouldn't even necessarily class this as like strong support by any means, but like this is just your first kind of like SR zone, even though it's a really big one. This is probably a really good one to look at. So this is your anchored VWAP, which is going to be moving up pretty aggressively. And support. So I want to turn this green as well. So like this is coming off of literally the start of your impulsive move. I do expect this to probably hold up as like pretty important support. And this will move up pretty viciously over time as well. So if this starts to kind of creep up into this green box on a pullback, which is going to come at some point, I would pay a lot of attention to where this level is when that happens. I would pay a lot of attention to that. So what I will say is what I would want to see on this chart, if I think that this is going to go to 1,000 or something, what I would like to see first is this. I want to see some kind of range, something that like is building up a base and then get another clean breakout to the upside. Something like you want to build some support. Is that likely to happen? Probably not. But like
there's literally no reason
in terms of me like wanting to get like really bullish, and if I saw that, I would be like, okay, this thing really is probably going to 1,000, something like that. Like, you know, there's like have some kind of like range that gets put in, a very clear support, and it holds, and then, you know, it has another breakout. Like that would be really nice to see. I hate charts that look like this, honestly, just because I know there's no support built up, and this thing could reverse. You know what chart this looks like? Which is, I can't say it's the same chart by any means, but go look at Rave. Go tell me how that ended. But it's like that's
that's what's going to happen to this.
Yes,
I mean, the business is not doing well.
Which okay, let's go look at that right now, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Let's look at this chart. There you go. So like, you know, yeah, this chart, even there's more structure that even got built up here. This is not, this is all like arguably a bit less parabolic than the last chart we looked at. And then you see, you know, again, this is crypto, a bit different. It's actually up 93% today.
Crypto shitcoin
only because it got down to 46 cents, right? But anyway, yeah, so it's like it's different. But the thing is, it's like similar chart though, right? Or it's like it's that's I do not expect this chart to do that in that kind of a manner like that fast.
Well, the crazy thing is that there is one company, and I guess it's a fund that owns like I think around 50% of the company. It's probably like some kind of, you know,
Avis?
Yeah. There's a company that owns. I don't know if it was like they were exploring taking it private and it never happened, or I don't know. But there is one company that owns a big chunk of this, and that's why there's no float. So anybody, I'm sorry, but you know, if you're in a fund that's short this, you know, sorry for you. But that hedge fund manager probably needs some help because I mean, there's no reason to be short.
This is absolutely going to come down at some point, and it's going to be nasty. And I hope that it's going to trap a lot of people, because I'm sure there's a lot of people buying this to be like it's going to be filthy when that happens. It's going to be very bad
for sure.
And but I mean, hey, it's like, if you know, enjoy the ride.
It's, you know, we can get the popcorn out. It's fun to watch some of these things.
We'll watch this one. All right.
It's kind of renewed some of the meme coin. Like I noticed Beyond Meat actually was up like 35% today. So
that one, I feel like that one has those moves every once in a great while.
Yeah. So that we might see like a pickup in some like short squeeze stocks.
See, so what should we do next? I don't think I have. I'd have to switch to my other chart. This is Digimark. So this actually did get. Okay. Oh my goodness. Am I really gonna have to go back? This is the last time I want to do this back and forth though, because I really just need to start doing the analysis. Okay, yeah, here we go. Literally. literally the low, right?
April 2nd was our
We were
last
speaking
stream
about this
where
and
we,
why this area was a
yeah,
really good level.
right there, right there. Yep.
But literally, yeah, like since our stream, or since our video that we put out, this thing's up astronomically. Would you say it was like April 2nd or something?
April 2nd, yeah.
So
It
I mean,
was
this thing's up like astronomically.
440 or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, it was before that. But anyway, either way, like this thing's up nicely, and this 410 line, which was I believe your 1618 of this, which is ridiculous. But anyway, like the low, and this thing looks pretty good. It looks pretty good now. And like here, you just put on. I want us to make sure I'm on the right one. Kind of want to look at, although 4 hour looks really good. I'll look at something a little bit higher time frame. This is really good. So this is getting your close above cloud. Actually, that's not even the right one, but that's on. I mean, doesn't. This is very, very, very good. So this is an extremely good sign. What I would say, honestly, just looking at this. So here's your weekly pivot 666. By the way, so you're into your R1 right now. That's where we closed. So this is a weekly. Let me make sure. Yep, it's a weekly. So we're talking about price action for this week. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we actually chilled out a little bit here. If not, then yeah, I'd be looking for 834. Like I'd just be go to your next pivot. But I think what would be nice, if you are trying to kind of like get an entry on this or something like that, kind of like the next thing that I would look at is the first is going to be the top of cloud. And what I'd want to see here is kind of like the range high retest potential. It's the same thing. So like this would be like your, it's okay to like chop around outside of cloud for a little bit. But what I'd want to see is the top of cloud get held as support. You have a bullish EK cross. You got your edge to edge. Um, you know, you got your clean breakout and very, very solid close above cloud today, which this take, if you remember me telling you, this price has not been above daily cloud since 2025 and like at $37, man. So Ichimoku has told you to be short since like 30, low to mid 30s. And it's been right the entire way. What's happening right now, again, this is the first open and now close. Well, did it open above? Doesn't really matter. But I mean, it had a really nice close. But what I want to see now is for price to remain outside of cloud. Use top of cloud as support. So this around 7.25 level could be a nice potential area to look at if you do get a bit of a pullback here. But what you want to see now is price remain above cloud while cloud flips bullish. That's what you want to see next. And then, again, you get your Chiku span outside of cloud, that type of stuff. Then you got like a full bullish trend on a daily, which would be really nice. And again, something that you haven't had like in a long time, right? So the thing is like that's essentially like what I would want to see right now. And this has been extremely, extremely good. If you had literally just traded Ichimoku, it would have kept you out of trouble this entire way. But now it's like, do you catch the bottom? You never will with Ichimoku. That's the thing. You're almost never gonna catch it, right? It's about catching 70% of this, which can be a lot. Like 70% of this is extreme, right? It's a lot. And arguably in this case, you probably caught something like that. Like it was, same thing. But to the upside, that's what you really want to see now. You want to see, as long as price is above cloud, good. You want to see this cloud flip bullish again. You see that, then this thing could have legs for some time. So anyway, that was another good call though. That was another good, literally, wasn't it our very last video we did or something like that?
Yeah. April 2nd. I think the exact quote was, "I'm going out on a limb that this one's gonna come back."
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Obviously you got to sell at the top and wait for it to get back down to these levels, and then kind of hopefully rinse and repeat. But it's a really interesting tech play. They've got a ton of patents that are used in a wide range of things, and I think besides a lot of things kind of being very slow to work out, dealing with governments and big countries, um, and trying to basically change, you know, the market as far as like barcodes. A lot of these things take 10, 20, 30 years. So if those things happen, this thing is going to go nuts. But it hasn't yet, and it may not. And I think it got kind of hit with the software plays as well, with all the AI stuff. Anything that was software related got just killed. But I actually think this could be an AI play too, which is definitely no one's talking about that. All of these LLMs are being trained with information, right? Whether it's off from the internet or from databases. And I'm sure a lot of people get false, where they, I don't know what it's called, but and it's like AI slop when it gives you the wrong answer, or when it gives you something that's not even what you asked for. The Digimarc's technology could be kind of the images and the text that's put into the LLMs could be kind of, in other words, Digimarc's technology could help AI become more accurate. I guess is the easy way to say it. And then they have the gift cards, the fraud. They're fighting fraud from gift cards in the retail. So they got like a ton of things going on. Um, the financials don't look great. And the chart looks terrible until the last couple weeks, obviously. But it's an interesting play. It's a small, basically a micro cap with a low float. So obviously be careful out there, but it's definitely interesting.
I would say that this is an extremely important level, and which happens to be the weekly pivot. It's why I like pivot so much, by the way. But I do agree that like the 666 level is very important. Um, support, loss, resistance, 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 and then you're getting your breakout. I, I would say that like I said that like I want the top of cloud to hold. I would say that's like a picture perfect, big sign of strength. It's okay to consolidate above cloud for a little while. But I will say that I think if you got a pullback back down to around the 666 region, I think that is like that. I would be surprised if it gave that to you, because that would be like an uber clean retest, like SR flip, right? But that's the real level. I would say like for an opportunity, um, I think that you're pretty likely to get top of cloud at some point. Even if we push up a bit higher, I do think that there'll probably be a retracement. As long as cloud is bearish like this, which this is going to take a little, like this is going to take some time to actually flip. So if anything, like what kind of tends to happen, and not always, but like what kind of tends to happen in with these these types of examples here is that you do at least get some kind of a cooling off period where it trades sideways for a little while, maybe even gives you a bit of a pullback, something like that. But ultimately, like cloud's still catching up. But I would say that like top of cloud again around 7.25 is kind of like your first, which by the way is also kind of like this kind of nice high right here, right? Kind of like this before it really went down. That's your top of cloud there. But I think if you did get a pullback this week, for some reason or whatever, we got like a really big pullback on this, nice sell off or whatever. Man, if you saw this level kind of around here, I think that that's a pretty decent shot, I would say. That's a nice pullback if it's given, even though it's inside a cloud. Um, I wouldn't want to. The thing about this is like this level here to me is very important. I would not want to give it much leeway below this level. You'd really want to see this there. I mean, it's okay if it kind of like wick down a bit deeper. But like you really want to see this level on a closing basis, like really hold. If it even comes down to retest it. But that is definitely a level that I would keep an eye on. In terms of like two levels to me, again, your 7.25, 725, and then your 666. Terrible number. But in this case, like that's man, that'd be like a nice one.
Yeah, there's a 22 million shares outstanding. The float is 14 million, and the percentage short of the float is about 30%. It's got a decent sized short interest in this.
So
So
off of this
this
leg,
thing could definitely keep
there's
moving.
two perfect things. My goodness. This is why I love technical analysis. Your 236, so if you get a 236 retest and that's the fib level that holds, that's extremely bullish. That's like very, very, very bullish. So your 236 is sitting where? 7.25 on the dot. Your 50% retracement is what? 666. Imagine that right on your pivot. So I love, so again, so what I would say is, again, you get the 236 retrace, extremely bullish if that holds, which I would fully agree with that. Like this thing's gonna go a lot higher. Your 50% retracement, which is basically, it's a very classic equilibrium retest. This leg is the equilibrium of this current leg. Assuming the high remains here, you do get a pullback there. That's like a beautiful level. And then your golden pocket is sitting 630 to 640 for that potential wick down, which over the next few days, you're going to see your Tenkan and Kijun obviously move up into this region too. So there's a lot of like really nice levels to look at for a potential pullback if given. I'm not really in the camp that you're going to see that because of how strong this looks. But over the coming days, if we do see a bit of a pullback here, I think you have very nice levels to pay attention to. So I'm gonna do one final one just because this one kind of reminds me of that, and another one that we've been pounding the freaking table about for a long time now, and that's Lion. So Lion, this one is, I mean, geez, it's even after hours. It's at 1281, so it's gonna probably gap up again, or have a nice move up tomorrow. But this is another one where like you got your break. So this golden pocket was your initial high here. I think this is when we started covering this, right? But it was like your initial high here. You got a really nice pullback. Guess where? Your 50% retracement. What would the 50% retracement be on this bad boy, mind you? 666. Just gonna throw it out there. Just gonna throw it out there. So if you manage to see that, that's the 50% retracement and why we talk about it so much. But then ultimately, so again, while I was having an insane vacation in Thailand, we had quite a bit of price action going on here, and you actually got your another high at about $11, came back right down to your key level, right down to your key level. Look at that, right down to your key level, and then a
Beautiful.
big spring to the upside. So again, Lion, I don't have much to say at this point. You're above your 886. Okay. I was gonna say this thing's gonna make a new all-time high. Well, it already like like after hours, it's basically at this high. And I think, okay, well, it's not technically. This is a weird chart, by the way. So I
Yeah,
would.
well,
There's a
real quick, just a little background. Like the ticker symbol is different now. They changed.
Yeah.
It used to be LGF, and I think it historically got up to like 40 or $60 or
Yeah.
something
So I
back in the
don't
day.
know.
But
I'll just say that like this high, which if you remember me telling like speaking about, this is the high I care about. Like this is the high that I care about. We obviously are about to break it. Like probably tomorrow, right? Like you're gonna get a move up. This is but what I would say about this is like massive SFP watch here. So looking for like this is like all day long a massive swing failure pattern potential. So like we'll see how tomorrow. This time tomorrow should be like a really good day to watch this. But what you don't want to see is, kind of a stab above and then a close below type of thing. And then, if I see that, that could be a real, that could be like a real pullback type scenario if given. Obviously, way too early to even talk about that, but that's the first thing that comes to mind is tomorrow, watch how this thing trades. And like again, do you get a move up, failure? Do you get your actual SFP? If you do, this thing's probably gonna pull back a lot.
this is probably another good option play. Like if you do like the SFP, because it's hard to short these companies because I mean, this is definitely an acquisition candidate. With Warner Brothers being taken out, this is obviously much smaller, but would be a nice little, I think, buy for Netflix or Amazon or who knows, whoever. Um, and they have that Michael Jackson movie. I think it comes out this weekend. And, there's a decent amount of hype behind it. There's not much advertising. So it kind of makes me think that it's either they expect it to do very well or not well at all. So we probably are at an interesting level. It's probably going to be a decent move, either up or down.
If this
Over
doesn't SFP here, which um we'll know tomorrow. I think we're gonna find out tomorrow. But if this has an SFP here and this actually has a nice close tomorrow, I mean, this thing really could go up to like $17, which this, by the way, is like this is the same measurement that we use for Digimark that called it low. Like it's the same thing, just opposite. But that would kind of be like on a chart that looks ridiculous and stupid like this. Um, like which this is like a real. It's the only thing that I could really infer from this. By the way, like another thing, that's pretty wild, is like you had kind of like an ugly cup and handle here too, right? Like you had kind of like this weird kind of like cup handle and then your breakout. Which like off of a move like that, um, like you're looking for like your breakout off of this formation, by the way, is basically here. So like this off of this kind of cup and ugly kind of weird handle that you had, um, I mean, well, there's a few places. I mean, you could technically like put it here, which again is like where your last consolidation was before the big spike up. Depends like how people would how you would measure it. But the thing is, you actually have like kind of like a really big one, right? So you have like a really big cup, and then like what I would say is if you do get a swing failure pattern, this could give you your handle. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
For like the ultimate breakout later in the year or something like that. So that is something that I think is something to like keep an eye on. It's like typically when you have a chart that looks like this, obviously if this doesn't SFP, I would be looking for seven. I would be looking for like a full run. If this trend is going to continue, the next real level that I would have on here, because I'm ignoring all of this crap from before. But like the next real level I would have here is about $17, something like that. But it would be interesting to see. I think if you do get your swing failure pattern, then it gives you that cup and handle vibe that like I just said, right? Which again, the pullback off of that is like another buy op, right? But it will tell you again, you could have a short opportunity, a very, very nice short opportunity from that swing failure pattern if it happens into that kind of larger like cup and handle that like I just pointed out, right? So like this could give you that into your handle and then give you a very big breakout from there, like a really big breakout. Um
On like a longer time frame, it would be nice if we got the run up to 17 and then got to pull back after that, like leading into next year, which is when the Passion of the Christ, like uh, sequels or whatever you call them, by Mel Gibson. Those There's two movies that are coming out next year. In that series, we obviously know what happens, but I mean, the first one did insane, and I just think with all the stuff going on in the world right now, I would not be surprised if those were like huge, and so yeah, it would be nice to get like a big pop and then like, maybe range trade for a while, maybe even get like a nice downturn after that and then kind of reset up for next year.
well, I'll tell you what, we're gonna find out this week. Very likely we're gonna find out
Yeah,
probably
well,
tomorrow.
it'll be interesting Monday too when we get the box office numbers for the Michael Jackson movie too. Could be.
So yeah, this is one that we talked about a long time ago.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it as
And
six.
it's had a
Six.
it's had a nice move. And this is one that we'll likely continue to cover. But anyway, like yeah, we've had some excellent charts in our young history. Um, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. I think for me, I'm gonna wrap it up there. We're about at an hour, covered quite a few. Um, maybe our next video will be maybe a bit more crypto related or something. We'll see if there's interesting things going on in the market. By then I'm sure we'll have a whole slew of. I think we only made it through like half the list you wanted to talk about today. So there's always a list. There's always things to cover. But we will keep everybody updated, and we'll see you on the next
Yeah,
video.
man. We'll see you guys later.
All right, trade safe. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.